Sandeep, Abraham Sandeep Samuel from MedCity, Kotte. I teach IELTS here. So today I would tell you exactly how to get a 777-8, which is a requirement for anybody applying to Canada for migration. So this, I've heard people say that 777-8 is a very tall order. I don't think so. It's just that you have to practice. The first thing I would say for any module, you got to practice. Practice is the key to success. So let's start with listening. You need an 8 for listening, and 9 is the total score that you can get. So 8 is just one score lesser. So here, listening for IELTS do have accents of all kinds from all over the world. I've heard Arabic accent, Arab speaking English. I've heard a Scottish accent, Irish accent, a pure British accent, then Spanish speaking English. So English is the same. I do gather that English is the same for everybody around the world. But when it is spoken by people of different nationalities, it certainly differs, because an Indian would have a more of an R stress when they say water. It's not water for this, water. So that is accepted, because English is a very accommodating language. So at this point, we have to familiarize ourselves to different accents from around the world. They got to understand how people of different nationalities speak English. What's the difference? And then about the kind of words they use that is very much into their culture, or maybe the words that's taken from Spanish or Italian that is a part of English today, because English does take words, does take words from other languages. It's growing, in fact. So that is the first thing you got to do. So you got to listen to talks made by people in English from different parts of the world. Listen to news from different parts of the world in English, and that gives you that ear full of English of different places, given by different people. Then comes the listening. In the listening is practice. You have IELTS tests for English. Practice a lot. Then I would say not only IELTS. Please do practice Beck. Do practice Beck listening. Practice ET listening, and listens of different formats. So you get to understand. Maybe you get comfortable with all kinds of listenings. Next is reading. A 7 for reading. Again, I don't think it's a tall order. Again, read magazines, read newspapers, because most of the reading passages that you have in for IELTS are from newspapers and magazines. They're mostly columns. They're mostly editorials and articles taken from different magazines around the world. So you got to get a hang of journalistic language. In journalistic language, it's like this. A whole lot of things would be described in just one word. For example, if you say maybe talk about the floods, or maybe if there's an article on the floods. Certainly, when an ordinary person writes on the flood, he would maybe write a lot. But a newspaper journalist would probably put it as maybe this particular town is inundated, fully submerged in water, in muddy water. So inundated, fully submerged in muddy water explains the whole scenario, which would otherwise take a paragraph or two to explain by anybody else. So journalistic language do bring words that would widely explain the whole situation. So a reader has to understand and be able to grasp that aspect of reading. So for that, one needs to read a lot of a number of magazines, articles, and maybe I would recommend maybe a lot of reading. Maybe read about 4 to 5 newspapers every day of different publications. That will be a kind of an add-on. And then after that comes timing oneself. I understand that the IELTS exams gives you about 1 hour to maybe complete 3 passages. 3 passages. For general, it is about 5 passages. The first and second part would have 2 each, and the third would be 1 passage. So it'll be in total 5 passages. And this you get a time frame of 1 hour, 60 minutes. But I do say that when we practice for your exam, you should take at least, you should maybe cut it down to 30 minutes, which means 10 minutes per passage. So when you get faster, you start searching for the answers. And as you go slow, maybe you try to maybe affirm or ascertain if an answer is right. You go back to the passage over and over again. So what happens there is you start looking into other kinds of information which is not necessary for the question that or the answer that you're searching for. I liken that's tantamount to a driver who drives at the rate of 20 kilometers per hour on the road. He would certainly be a cause for an accident, or himself would be in an accident because he looks at too many things around because he's slow. So that is what happens when you read. When you read slow, that you tend to look into other information that is not concerned with what you're looking for. When a rider rides at or a driver drives at the rate of maybe 60 or 80 kilometers per hour on the road, he's focused only on what lies before him, not on the sights. He's less likely to meet with an accident. I'm not talking about rash driving. I'm talking about careful but fast driving. So that is what reading should be like. Go fast, aim for what you want, get to the next question. So that is one thing that slows people down when they say, "I've got 60 minutes. It's fine. I can take all the world in my time, all the time in the world." No, that is not how it is.
Next comes speaking. Speaking is not about interview. It's not an interview session with your examiner. I know you use the word examiner. It doesn't mean that it's an exam. It's a very interactive session where you go pour out whatever you have to say in response to what the examiner does ask you. The examiner wants to know you. That is what I understand. Here, the examiner probably might ask you, say something about your hometown. See, bring out your hometown in the best possible way. I mean, don't try and bring gardens and flowers and mountains when your hometown is situated in a city. So don't do that. Don't make up things. Just say what your hometown is. If your hometown is a small little village with maybe with people who live around that are poor, fine, say it. Say it. That's not going to affect your scores in any way. You're just saying what you are, or where you're from, and what your hometown is all about. So that is one thing. And second, I would say is don't put up an accent when you talk there. If suppose you have an Indian accent and you have a very strong Indian accent, but you're clear, your words are fine, it's okay. That's fine. So that is the second thing I would say. Don't put up an accent where you would not be able to understand, or maybe where others would not understand what you say. So that's the second. Third is, please do not try and put new words or maybe big words which you've learned by rote when you speak to somebody. You might end up putting them in the wrong place. And you might end up maybe confusing the examiner on what you intend to say. Do use words that are natural to you, which you've been using before. So for that, please practice English. Talk in English while you're in class and maybe outside till you've taken your exams, and then after that you could shift to maybe your regional language or language that you talk at home. But till the time you take your exams, from the time you start your practice, please do speak in English. That is a key to good speakers or getting a good speaking score. Third is please please answer the question to the fullest of your knowledge and not beyond your knowledge. In other words, if you're asked about where have you been yesterday, do not maybe go around the bend and maybe come to the answer. Just say, where I was in the market yesterday. Don't say instead that people go to various places. They go to various for various things, and then yesterday I was there. That doesn't make sense. So answer, if you have an answer of one sentence, do it so. Don't try and elaborate thinking that maybe you need to speak more. Next is writing, something that almost everybody dread. Why should you dread? Writing is not that difficult a task. I understand. Handwriting matters, the way you put your ideas matter, the way you understand questions matter. I do agree with all that. But then that should not be a problem. For if you read magazines, newspapers, gather points from these sources, and maybe put it down in a small notebook and read them over and over again, writing is an easy task through. Understanding questions, very important. Where you have about 2 to 3 lines in a question, maybe you might be confused which one to choose, or what is the question all about. So that is where maybe when you read, or maybe a voracious reader would be able to make out what he or she should do. So be a reader. That'll help you for your writing. And be okay in your grammar. You need not be very strong at your grammar. Need not maybe be particular about how should I make only complex sentences. No, it's a mix of complex, compound, and simple sentences that you could put down in your writing. It's not necessary that you got to use high flying vocabulary. It's about simple words put in the right places, or maybe a speck, or maybe a speck of big words here and there, appropriately placed in your essay will do you good. Same with the letter. When it comes to letter writing, it's about putting out, answering those 3 Q's in the question. Every letter question has a main question and 3 Q questions, or 4 Q questions. Put them in different paragraphs. Remember one thing, that in writing, do not write more than a point in a paragraph. That is important. So that makes a paragraph stand and a point stand out. So that is what I would say about writing. So what I've done so far is just a few important things that I have come across. I feel that one should know to maybe get a 777 and an 8 for listening. So if you're an aspirant, if you wish to go abroad, migrate abroad, this score is important, and maybe join us at Mid-City to get the further classes on this. Thank you.